Why do you continue to prosecute a war that the American people aren't behind?
The question I would ask to you and to others is, what is the cost of a nuclear-armed Iran? What is the cost to the American people if the world's most dangerous regime has a nuclear weapon?
But the truth is, they don't want war coming to this shore, and when you do a decapitation operation, the likelihood is going to be exchanged in the United States. There's no evidence that we are safer because of this war. We did not have any evidence that Iran intended to imminently attack this country in any way. Seth, here's a few more. Let's talk about how you're prosecuting the war. What is your response to targeting that has resulted in the destruction of schools, hospitals, civilian places? Why did you cut by 90% the division that's supposed to help you not target civilians? And do
Cotton, Senator Gillibrand, and then Senator Rounds.
Thank you, gentlemen, for appearing before this committee, and thank you for the closed session prior to this. I don't know if you fully appreciate how much the American people do not support this war. It is an unauthorized war. Normally, when you come to Congress, it's a way for the American people to be part of that discussion. The American people, particularly in my state of New York, are upset for a lot of reasons. First of all, this war is costing so much money. Over $25 billion already, estimates $1 billion a day, and they're feeling it every single day at the gas pump with higher prices for both fuel, for diesel, for gasoline for their cars. They're also feeling it with higher grocery costs, and they're exhausted. They are truly exhausted. On top of that, they have so many grave concerns about how this war is being prosecuted. They read in the paper that 22 schools have been hit. They read in the paper about a girls' school, hundreds getting killed. We have a debate going on in this country about AI, a serious debate about AI. And I haven't heard yet from you that you will not allow AI to make final targeting determinations, even when nuclear weapons are being used. That's a huge issue that we need to discuss. So I want to start from the top, Secretary Hegseth. Why do you continue to prosecute a war that the American people aren't behind?
First of all, I appreciate the opportunity for that closed session where we had a, unsurprisingly, very different discussion than we have here with the cameras on. We support this
because my job is to represent New Yorkers, and I can tell you, when I talk to them all across my state, they are furious, and they expect me to explain to them why they are furious.
And Senator, when I talk to Americans, and especially when I talk to the troops, they are grateful for a president who has the courage to take on this threat after 47 years of what Iran has done, targeting and killing Americans, and what it would mean to the world if Iran's nuclear ambitions were actually achieved. So the question I would ask to you and to others is, what is the cost of a nuclear-armed Iran? What is the cost to the American people if the world's most dangerous regime has a nuclear weapon?
But the truth—
This is where the core clash becomes unmistakable. You're watching two completely different definitions of threat collide in real time. On one side, a forward-looking argument. Stop a nuclear-capable adversary before it's too late. On the other, a demand for present, concrete evidence. What was the imminent danger that justified war right now? And notice what's happening. Instead of answering that directly, the discussion shifts to rhetoric, death to America, and broader fears. That may resonate emotionally, but it doesn't actually resolve the senator's central point. So the real question for viewers becomes, was this war based on urgency or on projection?
They don't want war coming to this shore, and when you do a decapitation operation, the likelihood is going to be exchanged in the United States. There's no evidence that we are safer because of this war. We did not have any evidence that Iran intended to imminently attack this country in any way, shape, or form. So I disagree with your assessment that we were under threat.
Do you not believe them when they say death to America?
Listen, our adversaries use rhetoric all the time. What I'm concerned about is we are not safer, and I would just like to know why you have not sought the support of the American people, and 3 out of 5 Americans are against this war today.
I believe we do have the support of the American people, and we have briefed regularly what this mission looks like and why it's critically important that we undertake it. And I would remind you and this group that we're 2 months in to an effort And many congressional Democrats, as I pointed out, want to declare defeat 2 months in. Iraq took how many years? Afghanistan took how many years? And they were nebulous missions that people went along with. This is different. This is a defined mission set that we have had great success in pursuing against a determined enemy who seeks nuclear weapons. And I'm proud of the opportunity to remind the American people, because they believe in it as well, that they can't have it.
You don't care whether the American people support this war.
The American people are quite smart. They understand and see through spin. They know that a regime that says death to America, that seeks nuclear weapons and the ability to deliver. Did they lie about the range of their missiles?
How much more?
Because I saw a 4,000 kilometer missile.
How much more will you ask the American people to pay for this war?
Diego
right
Garcia.
now, do you want it $1 billion a day? Do you want it $2 billion a day? You're asking for $200 billion more to fund this war and to make sure we have.
We didn't ask for $200 billion. I don't know where you got that number from, Senator. I think you got it from the news, which you should be careful what you read in the news.
Okay, Mr. Hegseth, Secretary Hegseth, here's a few more. Let's talk about how you're prosecuting the war. What is your response to targeting that has resulted in the destruction of schools, hospitals, civilian places? Why did you cut by 90% the division that's supposed to help you not target civilians? And do you know the impact of a strategic failure at a war when you have so many civilian casualties? You may have tactically completed a mission well, but strategically is not meeting your goals because of the harms to civilians. What is the cost of that?
Let's leave time for an answer.
No military, no country works harder at every echelon to ensure they protect civilian lives than the United States military. And that is an ironclad commitment that we make, no matter what systems we use.
And why did you cut the department by 90%?
Thank you, Senator Gillibrand. There'll be other rounds of questions.
What makes this exchange so compelling is not just the disagreement. It's how fundamentally different the frameworks are on each side. Senator Gillibrand is grounding her argument in 3 pressure points that are very hard to ignore: public opinion, financial cost, and the absence of clear, imminent threat evidence. She's not just asking whether the war is justified in theory. She's asking whether it's justified right now, at this scale, with this price tag, and without explicit public backing. And that's where the tension sharpens. Because instead of directly addressing the lack of imminent threat, the response pivots toward long-term risk, specifically the danger of a nuclear-armed Iran. That's a powerful argument, but it operates on a different timeline. It's about what could happen, not necessarily what was about to happen. And that distinction matters, especially in a democracy where public consent and congressional authorization are supposed to play a central role in decisions of war. Then there's the economic argument, which lands with real weight. $1 billion a day. Rising fuel costs, grocery prices, these aren't abstract policy debates. They're daily realities for voters. When those costs are paired with uncertainty about the mission's necessity or endgame, skepticism becomes almost inevitable. And you can hear that frustration in the framing. Not just is this war, right? But why weren't the American people brought into this decision more directly? Another revealing moment comes when the discussion shifts to civilian casualties and targeting decisions. That's where strategic credibility is on the line. The response leans on the long-standing claim that the U.S. military works harder than any other to avoid civilian harm. And historically, that's been a key part of its moral and operational identity. But the follow-up question cuts deeper. If that's true, why reduce the very systems designed to prevent those outcomes? That tension is left unresolved in this segment, and it lingers. And then there's a subtle but important dynamic throughout the exchange. Both sides claim to speak for the American people. One says they are furious and opposed. The other says they are grateful and supportive. That's not just disagreement. That's a battle over narrative control. Because in a situation like this, whoever successfully defines public sentiment gains a powerful advantage in shaping the legitimacy of the entire operation. Ultimately, what this hearing exposes is not just a policy dispute, but a deeper question about how wars are justified in the modern era. Is long-term threat enough? Does rhetoric from adversaries count as actionable danger? And how much transparency and public buy-in should be required before committing billions of dollars and potentially escalating conflict? Those are not small questions, and this exchange doesn't settle them. But it does make one thing clear. The gap between justification and skepticism is wide, and it's not being easily bridged. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think the concerns raised here were fully answered, or did key questions get sidestepped? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you found this breakdown useful, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dive political analysis.